You're never going to be perfect as an entrepreneur. You are broken and you need fixing. Work is not measured by time, it's measured by output. The mistake that I made was thinking that hard work would solve everything in my business, which was completely incorrect. True sacrifice is cutting something off. You're losing time, you're losing money, and you're putting in effort towards the wrong area. Over the last decade of business, I have made a ton of mistakes. Some I am not proud of, some that are embarrassing, and some that were just flat out dumb. But here's the deal. Those mistakes have allowed me to become the entrepreneur I am today, but I want to do something special for you. I want to break down all of those mistakes, and hopefully it can help you scale your business, become a better entrepreneur without actually having to make those mistakes yourself. So in this video, I break down 10 years of business, 10 big lessons I've gotten from it, and just some takeaways that I think you will appreciate and you'll be able to take and apply in your specific situation. You guys ready? Let's hop into the video. A decade into business has made me realize one thing. It is not a linear line up. Sometimes if you're lucky, you get a hockey stick, right? You get that, you start, and then you're just straight to the moon, which is an awesome place to be. But that is not going to consistently be the nature of being an entrepreneur. And what I have learned over the last decade of business is that along the way, you are going to make a ton of mistakes. And I personally have made a lot of them. And so what I want to do in this video is break down some of the top 10 mistakes that I have made over a decade in business, and hopefully you can learn something from it. Before we even talk about the mistakes, I think we need to talk about something that I'm seeing that's becoming very common right now. And I kind of call it the Insta reality distortion. What I mean by that is that there's this distortion that because of social media, because of all your podcasters that we watch, because of the people we see speak at conferences, we have been trained to believe that business is supposed to be easy. And if it's not easy for you, then it means that you are broken and you are bad at your job. But that is not the case. Business is not you start a business, next you know you're buying Lambos, you're speaking at conferences, and you're this big influencer. That is not business. Business is chewing glass while you try and figure out how to make your vision a reality. Business is having a problem every day that you have to deal with. Business is having staffing issues. It's having operational issues. It's not really understanding how you're going to get your next new sale to be able to pay the bills next month. That is what business actually looks like. It is not this grand thing that you just see on social media time after time. And so I think one of the biggest things that I would love to just give you permission is give you permission to grow as an entrepreneur. You are not supposed to be perfect. Your business is not supposed to be perfect. If it feels like it's broken today, if it feels like you're making a lot of mistakes, maybe you might not be the best entrepreneur. That is okay. And when you hear some of these mistakes, hopefully it will reassure you and show you that you are not on the wrong path. You just have to keep moving along. A lot of times we think we're learning by just consuming information. We think we're learning because we went to the conference. We think we're learning because we consumed the course, because we bought the program, because we watched the YouTube video. But in reality, that is not learning. It's taking in knowledge. It's taking in information. But taking in information is not the definition of learning. The learning is change in action. Learning means that when you hear something, you've applied it, you've put it into action, and then there has been a physical change in the behavior of you, your staff, and ultimately your business. And so as I go through these mistakes, I want you to learn from them with me. But the only way that can be possible is if you actually do something different. If you're not going to do something different, then I would rather you pause this video, turn it off, and just go get back to work, because that's where you're actually going to see the real growth. All right, so let's get into it. One of the first mistakes happened to me early on. It was a very tough and humbling moment, and it was when my ex-wife's grandma had to pay her rent. It was a tough moment because I realized that I was now in business. I did not have a legit W-2 job, and I could not pay my own rent. At that time, I was pissed. I was upset. I played a little bit of the victim game. I played the game of, man, if I just got more clients, this wouldn't happen. The leads were there, this wouldn't happen. If my clients were better and they paid more, this wouldn't happen. But the reality that I had to look at was what my life looked like in that moment. I did not come from a family of business owners. I did not come from a family of people that love to talk about money. I actually came from a family of people where they believed that if you were rich, you were probably evil. And so that was the mindset that I had. The path that I took growing up was the path of the rebel, the troublemaker. I remember my mom saying that she thought I was going to be in prison by the time I was 30. Now I'm 31, not there yet. So doing good. What happened was that I had made this decision that I was going to do something different, and that involved starting a business. But the mistake that I made was that I tried to keep my old life at the same time. I kept the friends that I would go party with. I kept the habit of binge watching TV. I kept the habit of watching ESPN too much. I kept the habit of not reading. All of those habits were still there, even though I was embarking on this new journey. It made me realize that if I'm not willing to sacrifice, and when I say sacrifice, I mean literally kill my old self, kill the friendships that are not going to be able to pave this path forward for the vision that I want for my life. Kill the bad habits that are stopping me from being able to learn and invest and do new things as an entrepreneur. If I'm not willing to sacrifice that old me, there's no way that I can expect the new me to succeed. And so the first lesson there was understanding what sacrifice truly looked like. We hear it a lot. We hear a lot about sacrifice. I work hard, right? I grind, all those different things there. But true sacrifice is cutting something off. It's killing it. One of the first places that we have to look at as a business owner is we have to look at ourselves. And we have to look at our lifestyle. We have to look at the things that we're doing. And we have to ask ourselves the question is that if I keep doing this, is it going to feed into the vision that I have for myself, for my business, for the impact that I want to make in this world? And if it's not, then it is time to cut it. It is time to let it go and truly make a sacrifice that can allow us to leap forward. The second biggest mistake was not executing past initial success. I don't know if I would say I got lucky or if I was just in the right place at the right time. But when I decided to first start my business, I had saw an ad for a business conference. It was a fitness business summit. If you've been there before, you know what I'm talking about. I was excited. I decided to go to this summit. And I was able to get some great advice on how I can start my business without having any cash and to be able to get it to where it needs to be able to go and get into a brick and mortar location. And I took that advice and I ran with it. I took massive action. I did everything that they said to do. And guess what? It worked, which was awesome. And so you're probably wondering, where's the mistake here? Well, the mistake was that I stopped there. The same people that gave me that advice that allowed me to go from starting a boot camp in the park to getting into a 5,000 square foot location now were giving me next advice, right? They were giving me the next steps. They were telling me, hey, this is how you need to go market. This is what your prices need to be. This is how you need to sell. This is the team that you need to hire. But I let my own ego get in the way. And I let that initial success stop me from taking massive action on the next steps of the process. And what this did is it caused a lot of grief. Caused me to look up one day and realize that I have this location that's costing me thousands and thousands of dollars per month, and I have no new business coming in. I don't have a team in place. I'm doing it all alone, and I'm grinding through and wondering why it's not working. And the reason it wasn't working is because I decided to stop at initial success. This is something that can happen, right? We get comfortable. You make some money. You hit that first milestone, right? You make your first 6 figures in business, and you start to kind of feel like, oh, you got it. You know how you want to run your business. You know what your vision is going to be. You know what staff you want. You know how much you want to charge. And we start to think again and again that we now know because of that initial success. And that's why sometimes I think it's better to be able to fall flat on your face and just keep failing over and over again, because that will kind of kill that ego and allow you to be more humble and receptive to advice and actually taking that advice. And so not pushing forward past initial success caused me to lose thousands of dollars and caused me to lose a lot of time that could have propelled my business forward if I would have just taken action on the new advice that I was given. Don't win and get comfortable. Win and keep pushing. When you start winning in business, that is not the time to just relax. That is actually the time to put your foot down, push the gas pedal to the floor, and keep pushing even faster. The next mistake is a little bit more of a personal issue. And it was not realizing that as a new business owner, I needed fixing. This isn't even a business mistake. It's usually just what we see as a life mistake. If you're a wellness business owner, you probably realize this with a lot of clients that come to you, right? You get Susie that comes in the door. She's 50 pounds overweight. She's been doing the same thing for the last 30 years and just struggling. And you just know, that this lady needs to go through a mindset change. She has a lot of baggage she needs to deal with. There's a lot of change that has to happen for her to become the successful version of herself. And it's so easy to be able to look at our clients and look at the people in our lives, right? And see what that needs to change, see what needs fixing in them. but it's so hard to see that in ourselves. And that was where I was as an early entrepreneur, right? I was kind of, had initial success. I was making some money. I was excited. But what I did not do was look in the mirror and realize that I had a lot of fixing that had to happen. And a lot of that is because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to look at yourself and truly assess your personality, assess your traits, assess your characteristics, assess where do you fall short? Where are you maybe a little bit too controlling? Where are you not a visionary? Where are you weak at, right? Is it weak with numbers, weak with financials, weak with KPI reporting? Are you weak in leadership, right? All of these things are things that we need as skill sets as successful entrepreneurs. But those things can only come when we decide that personal development matters. And so for myself, it started with first understanding that I lacked what is a concept called extreme ownership. There's a book, Extreme Ownership, Jocko Willink, highly recommend you read it. But this drastically shifted my mindset and showed me what a true leader is supposed to be. And it all starts with extreme ownership. And this road, the first step, the starting line to fixing yourself and becoming a better entrepreneur, AKA just becoming a better person, starts with having extreme ownership over your situation. It's not playing victim. It's realizing that you are in control. You are in control of your decisions, your actions, and how you guide your business. And it all comes down to you at the top. The buck stops there. You cannot pass blame on to your employees. You can't pass blame on to your marketplace, the industry, Facebook ads, your marketing agency, X, Y, and Z, you name it. You have to have the blame come to you first. And it's also realizing that at the end of the day, the owner is the true bottleneck. When I was not personally developing myself, when I was not becoming a better leader, becoming better at systems, becoming better at tracking my stats, I was the bottleneck of my business. It was not my staff. It was not my clients. It was not my prospects, right? It was not the area that I was located in. It was truly me limiting the growth of my business because I became the bottleneck when I stopped personally growing. Then we realized that there's something called ignorance tax. And so ignorance tax is the tax that you pay for what you don't currently know today. So for example, if you don't know how to make $1 million, but you know how to make $100K in your business, you are paying a $900,000 ignorance tax every single year that you do not learn how to make 7 figures, right? That's on you. You're paying that tax. If you don't know how to scale a sales team, you're paying that ignorance tax of not being able to have people in your business that can sell for you. If you don't know how to give great client experience, get great fulfillment, get your clients great results, you are paying the ignorance tax of not having raving fans out there promoting your business. And so every area that we're deficient in is going to be an area where we have ignorance tax. And that is completely okay. You're never going to be perfect as an entrepreneur. Your top entrepreneurs today that are doing multi-million dollars in business, they still have areas that they have to improve. I still have areas that I have to improve. But it all starts with understanding this key concept that you are broken and you need fixing. And if you are going to be a leader, if you're going to put other people's livelihoods in your hand, in your responsibility, if you're going to put the impact that you have on your clients, if you're going to say that you want to do that, then you need to understand that you are going to just have to simply get better every day. The next one here is a little bit funny because it speaks to the grind mentality that we see. You kind of see two sides on social media, right? You see the side where it's like everything should be easy. You should be driving a Lambo and making a ton of money. And then you also see the side where it's like, hey, you just need to work harder. You need to do more work, put in more hours, make more calls. All those things are there. And there's some truth to both sides of the story. There is truth that hard work is what can bring success. But what we have to understand, and the mistake that I made was thinking that hard work would solve everything in my business, which was completely incorrect because work is not measured by time, it's measured by output. If I just worked from 4 a.m. to midnight and slept 4 hours a day, I literally tried that, it did not work, then I would be successful. But what I did not realize was that the time I'm putting into my business, the hours that I'm working is not what's going to measure if I'm going to grow my business or not. It's actually going to be the output. Let's just say that you're taking sales appointments. You pack your calendar, you figure out how to get people to show up, and you're taking 5 consults per day, every single day. You are grinding, you're putting in the hours. But let's say that you never improve your sales appointment. You do the same consult at consult number 1, and then all the way to consult 1,000, it looks the exact same. So what's going to happen here? You're putting in the hours, but are you truly putting in work that actually dictates better outputs? And so it's not just about the hours that we're putting into our business. It's about the quality of those hours. And most important, it's about, are we pivoting? Are we changing? Are we learning from the last hour to improve the next hour? Because when we start to do this, we see this compound effect. We see that you can actually start to produce more work without having to put in more hours. A same thing for your staff. Your staff can work the same amount of hours, but produce a 10x return versus what they're doing now by the quality of that work and the outputs that are happening. So don't just measure hours. Don't just think just because you work a lot, it means that you are working hard. What you really want to measure is, what are the outputs? What are the returns that you're getting for every hour that you're putting into your job? Because a lot of times, all you're doing is just killing time. You're killing precious time that you can never get back. And that's sometimes the most unfortunate way to do it, where I meet with the business owner. They've been 13 years in business, and over the last 8 years, they've been at the same revenue, same staff, same growth, same clients, but they've lost 7 years of their life. Don't make that mistake by thinking that your hours that you put in is going to equate to the work that you're actually doing. Go for the outputs. This one, I'm still, have to be honest with you, I'm working on right now because it's a tough one. And if you're an entrepreneur, it's so hard, because what happens as the entrepreneur, as the owner of the business, all of the problems are crystal clear to you. All problems are pushed up. So you are always dealing with the problems of your business if you're doing your job correctly. Whether, you fix your sales issue, you have people closing, but then now you have a fulfillment issue and you have to put your attention on that. You're constantly going to have all problems pushed towards you as the owner. And that is okay. It happens. But what we have to realize is that we do not want to have a false sense of urgency. And this is something that I was always struggling with, still struggle today, getting a little bit better, right? Hopefully you can ask my team and we'll see what they say. But what I have to realize is that most problems do not require immediate action. Not every problem is a big problem. Not every problem is a problem that you need to care about right now. Because I guarantee you, if you took out a piece of paper right now and you wrote down all the problems of your business, you should have a laundry list of problems. But what we have to get better at as entrepreneurs, what I have to get better at, is understanding what are the problems that actually bring the most leverage. So if you solve them, it means that the output you get, the returns that you get, the piece that you get, your team gets, right? It's going to have the maximum opportunity. And so if we're trying to solve every problem in our business at once, you're not going to solve any of them well. And if you're trying to solve the problems that are not actually real problems that would just kind of go away with time versus focusing on the problems that actually need to be solved in your business, you are wasting effort and you're causing yourself a lot of stress. And this is where I started feeling burnout, right? This is where I started feeling like, is this even worth it? Because I was just so hyper-focused on trying to solve the wrong problems in my business. When you have a full team in place, you're doing 7 figures or plus, you should really be making a few key decisions every single month of your business that move it forward. And if you find yourself not doing that, if you find yourself constantly changing everything, changing staff, changing focus that you put your staff on, if you're constantly changing the environment that your team is in, it's going to be very hard for them to get into a groove and start to have success. So pick the right problems, let some things go, and just to give you a peace of mind and just give you permission, sometimes it's okay to ignore something. Don't ignore the big things, but the small things that don't really matter, just wipe them away, ignore them. And if they're still there months later, then you know it's probably a big problem that does not deserve your attention. This one hurt my ego. It might hurt your ego too. There's this thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And it is so true, especially in us as entrepreneurs. And what this just means is that we overjudge our competency. We overjudge what we can do. We think that we are better than what we actually are. This one hurts me a little bit because I am definitely a little bit more high ego, high A type, and I like to think that I'm good at whatever I'm going to do. And it can cause a lot of problems in your business and even a lot of problems in your personal life. It is so important that we have to understand that the marketplace is always going to demand better. It's going to require you to be better than you were yesterday. And the only way for you to accept this law of the marketplace and to keep growing your business, growing your staff, developing yourself, developing your operations is for you to understand that you are just not as good as you think you are, right? Because if I think I'm the best salesperson ever, how can I improve my sales process? If I think I know how to market for my business and I know what's best, how can I improve my lead flow? right? If I think I know everything about leadership and I know everything about hiring and firing and all the different things there, then how can I improve my business operations? I can't, right? I'm stuck. I'm stuck in what I believe is my current limit of success. This is not a good place to be. It's actually a very scary place to be, because this is usually where you see the downfall of most entrepreneurs, is that when they feel like they are done learning. And so the way that you just stop this from happening, that has helped me a lot, is I just don't stop learning. That's it. I continue to invest. I continue to invest in coaching. I continue to invest into courses. I continue to invest into my time, into reading books, because every time that you start to consume the right information, it shows you more of what you don't know, right? And at first it sucks, because you're like, man, I need to change everything. But what happens is it just keeps you in this mindset where you understand there is always better, because the marketplace, again, will always demand better. So don't get stuck in the rut of thinking that you are good enough, because I promise you, you are not. Your competitor down the street, the new person opening up, right? The person going to the conferences, learning the information, investing and improving their business will kick your ass if you think that you are good enough. So put yourself in the mindset that you always have room to grow, and you're going to see your business grow as well. There's a time in my business where I was making the decision on, do I be generous or not? We were actually, just got to give you a specific story. We were in our gym. We had opened it up. We were cranking, had clients in the door, and I had an opportunity to invest in a mission. We sponsor kids from the Philippines. We sponsor kids that are orphans. They don't have home. They don't have families. And we make that a part of our gym process, and we get our clients to sponsor them. And I remember wrestling with this. Maybe I'll do it when I'm more profitable. Maybe I'll do it when we have more clients that can help give to this. Maybe I'll just do it later. That was what I was telling myself. I'll never forget it, speaking with a pastor of mine who was a mentor. I remember he asked me why do you think it's going to be easier later than it is today? And it hit me hard, because it made me realize that it only gets harder to be generous when you have more. Because giving a penny out of $1 is a lot easier to do than to give $100,000 out of $1 million. And it was this lesson I had to learn, and I was so thankful to learn it, that generosity starts today, right? You don't just become generous when you have more. That is not generosity. Generosity is where you actually sacrifice and you give. And there's a component that happens in your business when you become a more generous person, because it's not just about giving money, right? That does not mean that you have to go and open up a nonprofit or fund a nonprofit or do anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you need a generous personality. Because what happens when you have a generous personality is that you are generous with more things than just money. You're generous with your time to your staff. You're generous with your attention of actually taking the time to develop your team. Pour into them. Send them the book that you just read. Send them that YouTube video that you think hits home and could help them become a better person. And then when you're generous like that, you start to see something cool happen where it becomes your culture, and then your staff becomes more generous to your clients. Not generous in giving them discounts, giving them free service or things like that. I mean, generous in how they greet them. Generous in how much time they put into solving problems for them. Generous in picking up the phone if something went wrong and actually calling and apologizing to that client and making it right. And so if you want a culture like that, then it starts with your generosity as the business owner. Generosity can solve a lot of problems in your business. It can make business more fun, and it can drastically improve your culture. And plus, you're just going to like yourself more. Okay. Like, you just really will. And so this is probably one of the greatest lessons that, I've gotten, and one of the lessons that I have stuck with, which is generosity starts today, not tomorrow. This next one here is going to hit a little bit more on appreciation and gratitude. The tough part about business is that only 6% of entrepreneurs ever hit 6 figures. Only 2% hit 7 figures. Most small businesses, majority, 90% plus, never go past 2 staff members. It is a hard game. With that being said, your mind becomes more focused on problems. It becomes more focused on what you don't have. And the big mistake that I made here is that I had an intense focus on what I lacked. What I lacked in my bank account, what I lacked from my staff, what I lacked in my operations, what I lacked in how many clients I had. It was just a constant focus on the lack. And this is not necessarily a terrible place to be, because you want to always have your head in 2 places as the entrepreneur. You want to have your head into the vision of tomorrow, where you're going to be 6 months, 12 months, 5 years down the road. But you also want to have your head in the reality of the situation that you're in today. But if you start to adopt the mindset of only being focused on what you lack, It starts to create a cancer in your business. It stops you from being able to be grateful for the things that you do have today. Maybe you have some amazing clients. Maybe you have some great staff members that you can invest more into. Maybe there is opportunity at the door. Maybe you're just right there and it's only going to take one thing to push this thing over the edge and grow your business. But if we're so focused on what we lack, we start to miss those opportunities and we start to miss the positives in our business. And that starts to carry over in your team, which is why I call it a cancer, because it starts from the top. And so if you are a negative person, if you are disgruntled, if you're pissed about your staff, if you're pissed about your clients, you're pissed about people being cheap, your marketing agency that sucks, right? If you're pissed about all those things, that is going to carry down into your staff. They're going to hold the same attitude. And then it's going to create this vicious cycle where now you just have this negative culture from you to your staff to your clients. It becomes so hard to grow out of that. So the easiest way to do that, as cheesy as it is you just have to be more grateful. You have to be specific with what you're grateful for. You have to be specific with writing it down, telling yourself, reminding yourself of the opportunity that you have today. Because here's the deal. If you are in business, whether you're 6 figures, 7 figures, crushing it, whatever it may be, if you have that opportunity, that is one of the most amazing things that you can just be grateful for today. Because you have an opportunity to create a life that you desire. You have an opportunity to create wealth. You have an opportunity to pour into your staff and improve their lives. You have an opportunity to impact people, impact communities, especially in the wellness business industry. And so when you focus on that opportunity, when you focus on being grateful for it, I promise you start to find things that are going to help you level up, help your staff level up, and ultimately help your business level up. We are in a day and age where we have massive opportunity to be able to start businesses, scale them, and make money. But we're also in a day and age where everyone is making it look easy. And it's just not the reality. I talk with hundreds of business owners. We work with hundreds of clients. I interview them. You've seen some of the podcasts. And I have never spoken to someone that has looked at me and said, this is the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. But for some reason, when we're alone and we're consuming content, we're seeing things out there, we're seeing the highlight reels of people's lives, we start to create this belief that it should be easy. And if it is not easy, then it means that there's something wrong with you. What I just had to understand here, the lesson that I got from this is just realizing that it's not supposed to be easy. There is a reason very few people do it. There is a reason why if you have 100 people in a crowd that are business owners, only 2% of them actually achieve 7-figure success. And the reason is because it is actually hard. It's not supposed to be easy. This is not adopting a negative mindset about it. It's not being grouchy. It's not complaining. What it is it's giving you reality to be able to push yourself and your team to understand the work that actually happens. Because there is nothing worse than when you go to do a job and you're expecting it to be easy and then it's hard. It's demoralizing. You feel like there's something wrong with you. You feel like you're failing. But if you go into that job and you have the expectation that this is going to be the hardest thing that you have ever done in your life, then you are going to be more prepared. You're going to be more prepared for what it takes. When it doesn't work the first time, you're not going to just quit and say it doesn't work. You're going to be prepared because you expected that to happen. Let's just say that you decide that you're going to start marketing for the first time ever paid social media ads. If you go into it thinking that, okay, cool, I'm going to hire an agency, they're going to get me leads, my business is going to grow. If you think it's going to be that easy, then what happens is what I see what happens most of the time. It doesn't work, and then you just blame the system, you blame the leads, you blame Facebook marketing, you say that's all crap, it doesn't work, and then you stop doing it. But on the flip side, if you have a realistic expectation of what it's going to take, hey, you're going to have to call your leads. This is what it's going to take to do that. This is the staff it's going to take. This is how many hours it's going to take. Hey, your first sales consults, you're probably going to suck because you're selling to cold traffic. You're selling to people that aren't referrals, that aren't word of mouth, that don't already know you. And so you're actually going to have to sell. You're actually going to have a consult process in place. If you know these things going into it, you know how hard it's going to be, but you understand why it's worth it, then now when you run that first iteration and it doesn't work as you want it to work, you're not going to quit. You're going to say, oh, we expected this. Okay, cool. This is the problem. We need to put the focus here now. Let's try and fix that. Then you run it again, gets a little bit better, but now something else is broken. But you expected that. You knew this was going to be a journey. You knew it was going to take multiple months. You knew it was going to take effort, and you knew it was going to take learning. When you can go into a situation like that, you are so much more likely to succeed because you have the proper expectations around it. And this is a mindset that is not just a mindset for you, the business owner. This is the mindset that if you can get your team to understand this, It's amazing how they react to hard situations. It's amazing how much more creative they get. It's amazing how much more receptive to wanting to learn and make your system and make processes better. And that happens when you can also give them that mindset as well. You may come off as a pessimist, could come off pretty negative, but I love just the thought and the mindset of realizing it's not supposed to be easy. Final lesson that I want to leave you with, it's one that has changed a lot for me. It's one that has caused a lot of growth really fast. It's one that's given me more peace, and it's just given me a lot less pain. This one is that blind learning is the biggest mistake of an entrepreneur. And what I mean by this is where we start to have shiny object syndrome. We learn something new. We're like, I need to go do that. We see a new ad. I need to try that. We go to a conference, we hear 5 different people say 5 different things, and we want to put it all in place. And usually what happens is it's going to be more geared towards what you're passionate about. So for example, let's just say you're really passionate about the medical side of things in your med spa, right? Then you're probably going to be really interested in all the new drugs, all the new services that you can add on. Let's say that you're really passionate about the sculpting equipment. I have seen this time and time again, someone go $1 million into debt just to have a crap ton of equipment that they keep adding on, even though that the other one is just becoming a closet, right, where they're just hanging stuff off of. Or maybe you're a techie person and then you're interested in the new software, the AI stuff. You're interested in the bot caller. What happens is that we get so much information. We get so many new tactics, and it happens rapidly. It happens even faster and faster as we advance as a culture, and we start to do what we call blind learning. And what I mean by blind learning, it's where you start taking action on all of these different things without really assessing what matters for you today in your business. A good example of this would be that if you decided that you wanted to go and build an engine. You're not an engineer. You're like, just for the heck of it, you're like, I want to go out and build an engine for a new car. You're not just going to wake up and roll out of bed and make that happen. That is not the reality of the situation. But a lot of times we think the same thing applies in business. We think that in business, just because we want to be a business owner, just because we got an LLC, because we got a location, we got some equipment, and we hired some staff, that we know the blueprint to business. But it's the same thing as that engine. It is not just that black and white. And so what we have to do, just like if we were going to go and build something new for the first time, is we have to get the right information and we have to take the right actions. I don't know a lot about engines, but I bet you there's a process in place of what you start with. There's step 1, there's step 2, there's step 3. And the same thing applies for your business. So this does not contradict the advice I gave earlier about not understanding that you have to learn and being willing to learn and things like that. You have to learn. But now what we need to be able to focus on is what things should you be learning today and actually taking action on. Because it's not going to be the same as the business owner that's sitting next to you at the conference. It's not usually going to be what you see the ad for on Instagram as you're scrolling. It's going to be something that needs to solve a specific problem that you have in your business today. So for example, let's just say that you're struggling with staffing. You had some people quit. You had to fire another person. You feel like you just cannot find good staff. If you're having that issue, but you're spending all of your time learning about marketing and sales and all of those things there, then you're blind learning. You're not solving the real problem in your business. And a lot of times the real problems in your business are not the sexy problems. They're not the fun things. They're not the things that you're interested in. They're usually the things that you have a deficit in. A good example for me, financial metrics. I was always okay at math, but I was never a good tracker. Right? I was never a person that understand business metrics, financials, lifetime value, cost to acquire a client, cost of goods sold. Like those just weren't the language that I spoke. And so I ignored that for so long. And so I had the reality check that I cannot scale a business successfully and profitably if I don't understand those metrics. So what does that mean? Okay, cool. So for the next couple months, if I'm going to pick up a book, if I'm going to watch a YouTube video, it's going to be about that specific topic, and I'm going to learn that and improve and get that skill set. And then it just continues to change. Maybe you do that and now you have a problem where you just don't have enough new people walking your door. Then now that's when you invest in marketing. You invest in learning more about sales. You invest in those systems that you need to be able to solve that problem. So learning is great, but blind learning will kill your business. It will stress you out because it goes back to the whole work is not about hours, it's about output. If you're doing blind learning and you're taking the time to go to that conference, you're taking the time to buy that course, but it does not solve the specific problem that needs to be solved in your business today, then now what's happening is you're losing time, you're losing money, and you're putting in effort towards the wrong area. And that is going to create a lot of stress because you're going to wake up one day and you're going to look at your business and you're not going to be happy about what you see compared to the level of action you've been taking. So if you're taking a lot of action right now, but you do not see your business growing, you may be making the mistake of blind learning. All right. So find the real problems, learn the real things that you need to learn, solve the problem, and then move on to the next one. So as promised, I made a lot of mistakes. That's just 10 of them. There are probably about 100 more that I can think of. So if you like the style of video, let me know in the comments. I will go ahead and make more like it if you get value from it. And also do me a favor real quick. If you are a business owner, think of what was some of your top mistakes in your business and you have a big one that sticks out to you, drop that in the comments. Drop that below because you are not alone. And neither is another business owner. So let them see that in the comments. Let them see what mistakes we're all making. So hopefully we can learn from it. And hopefully I can read some of those things and learn from it as well. So if you appreciate this, I appreciate you. Subscribe, drop that comment below, and I will see you on the next video.